Either you're fired, or you take a $40,000 salary. My new boss didn't know she was looking at someone who quietly owned 50% of the company, worth $2.27 billion. I smiled. I nodded, and then I walked into the storm she thought she had created. What she didn't know would ruin her. If you've ever been underestimated, dismissed, or betrayed, hit that subscribe button now, like this video, and stay tuned, because what happens next is a masterclass in poetic justice, carefully planned, brilliantly executed, and utterly satisfying. Let's dive in. I still remember the day she cornered me like a predator eyeing its prey. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, but all I could hear was my own heartbeat, pounding in disbelief. Merely my new boss leaned over my desk, voice sharp, cold, like ice scraping across metal. Either you accept this new $40,000 salary, she said, eyes narrowing like she had already won, or you're out. It wasn't just an offer, it was a threat, a declaration of power. And for a fleeting moment, I felt it. That sharp sting of shock, humiliation, and disbelief. I had poured myself into this company, years of sleepless nights, endless hours perfecting deals, building systems, mentoring the team, only for a woman who didn't even know the first thing about me to reduce my worth to a number on a contract. What she didn't know, what no one outside my closest circle knew, was that I own half of this company. Not a small stake, half, and according to the latest valuation, that half was worth $2.27 billion. I could feel the blood rushing to my face. My fingers tightened around the edge of my desk, but I didn't flinch. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse. I smiled. I signed. I nodded. I accepted the humiliating offer, because I knew something she didn't. She thought she had cornered me, that I was powerless, that I would bow, obey, and vanish into submission like all the others. But she had underestimated two things: patience and precision. For weeks before this, I had been observing her. Merely was ambitious, ruthless, and above all, arrogant. She loved to remind everyone how she had climbed to the top. She believed power was a badge, and cruelty was a proof of strength. She thrived on fear, on the subtle intimidation that made even senior employees second-guess themselves. And that, I realized, was her greatest weakness, because I had time, and she had none. After signing the paper, I leaned back in my chair. My heart was still racing, but my mind was clear. I could almost hear the clock ticking, counting down the moments before her world started to unravel. The first step was subtle. I didn't want her to know she was being played, at least not yet. So I smiled, kept showing up every day, worked as if nothing had happened. Emails, answered, meetings, led, presentations, flawless. She watched me, thinking I was meek, compliant, perhaps even broken by the choice she forced me to make. She had no idea. Then, the opportunities started to present themselves. It began with small things, slight shifts in internal reporting, gentle nudges in budget approvals, hints dropped in meetings that only the board would notice. Every move was invisible to her, but visible to the people who actually mattered. I wasn't acting out of vengeance alone. This was strategy, calculated, deliberate, and deliberate. And it fed on one truth. Merely had no idea that the empire she thought she controlled was only half hers. Weeks passed. Her confidence swelled. Her arrogance grew. She micromanaged, overcompensated, and alienated the people who actually ran the company day to day. Employees whispered. Deals stalled. Small cracks appeared in her otherwise polished facade. And through it all, I maintained my mask, the compliant, demoralized employee. Then came the critical moment, the board meeting that would change everything. I had prepared meticulously. Every statistic, every document, every email trail that demonstrated her mismanagement was ready. And most importantly, the evidence of my ownership was ironclad: legal documents, board resolutions, financial statements, everything she would never have expected me to produce. She walked into the room confident, wearing that smug smile that made everyone tense. I sat across from her, hands folded, calm, collected. The room was full of tension, and for the first time in weeks, I wasn't nervous. I was in control. I started slowly. Before we start, I said, voice steady, there's something you should know. Marilee's eyebrows shot up. Oh, she said, trying to mask her curiosity with condescension. Yes, I continued. It's about ownership and authority. I handed the documents across the table. She glanced at them, and I could see the initial flicker of confusion, followed by disbelief, slowly morphing into panic. Her eyes widened as she read the legal statements confirming my 50% stake in the company. Every signature, every valuation, every agreement was there. She looked up at me, voice cracking slightly. That's impossible. How? You made me choose between a $40,000 salary or nothing, I said, letting the words linger. Yet here I am, quietly owning half the company, as I always have. And every decision you've made, every step you took thinking you had the power, you did it with my name still on the line. My money, my influence, my stake in every outcome. The silence that followed was almost tangible. Board members exchanged glances, some barely containing smiles, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Merely opened her mouth, but no words came out. She had finally realized the power she thought she wielded was an illusion. And then I struck the final blow. Not verbally, not physically, but strategically. I had already taken steps behind the scenes, minor shifts in board authority, subtle reassignments, securing key partnerships. I was in control now. One call, one vote, one signed document could effectively remove her from the CFO position. And I made it happen. The look on her face when the board voted unanimously to transfer authority. It's something I'll never forget. Shock, fear, betrayal. The realization that she had underestimated me, thought me weak, thought me small, and had no idea who she was actually dealing with. I watched her crumble, not out of cruelty, but out of justice. It was a vindication of years of effort, patience, and restraint. Every sleepless night, every strategy session, every moment I had spent building the company while appearing compliant, had led to this. And I smiled, not out of malice, but out of relief. I didn't need her respect. I didn't need her acknowledgement. I had the ultimate satisfaction. Fairness restored. Power returned to its rightful place. As she packed her things, I walked past her desk. She didn't meet my eyes. I didn't need to say a word. The silence, heavy and suffocating, spoke volumes. That day, I realized something fundamental about human psychology, about power, and about revenge. True vindication isn't loud. It isn't messy. It's subtle, meticulous, and undeniable. The more someone underestimates you, the sweeter the victory when justice is quietly executed. Some people think revenge is about anger, about aggression. But real revenge, true, satisfying justice is about patience, strategy, and proving the truth without ever losing your composure. It's about showing the world exactly who holds the power, in the calmest, most deliberate way. If you loved watching this masterclass in subtle revenge, hit like and share it with someone who's ever been underestimated. Comment below. Have you ever seen someone get exactly what they deserved? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories where patience, precision, and poetic justice rule. You won't want to miss what's coming next.